started for different reasons than most of the current European and worldwide music festivals. We started as a social movement during the repressive Milosevic regime in Serbia, and Exit was a movement fighting for freedom and democracy in Serbia. So we, in hippie days, we used music and festival to gather young people and for them to raise their voice. So we usually say that Exit is and social activism is still very important for our existence, besides great music program. And we like to say that we are one of the few festivals that really nurture from where everything began, since the Woodstock and hippie days. That was there was the reason behind those festivals. So we feel that this social activism of music festivals is very, very important.
What Exit enabled was for a lot of young people not only to hear new acts and to hear some really, really special artists perform, but also there was this big amount of hype and a lot of really positive energy.
Exit Festival, the whole thing started, politics, stuff like that, like awesome people started doing stuff, and we had actually had a chance to hear something new and like people that we have heard of that are big in the industry or I don't know, big underground or whatever. So it expanded our views even more.
It was not easy to buy a record for us and everything. For example, I remember that I heard Carola play for first time there in 1999, and I heard that track, I remember it, and I found it like 2 years after it, because there was no internet like now, and it was really hard to know, to have records.
I'm not sure how much these stories are true, but there are legends about smuggling records and DJs back in the 90s. I mean, I was a teenager then, so it was like I was too young to be a DJ anyways. But they had their connections. Basically, like smuggling records at that time was a sort of a revolutionary act. You know, you would like fight the system, find your way to find your records. You know?
We had like 1 or 2 guys here in Novi Sad that were constantly on the road, Novi Sad to Budapest, and were buying vinyls, and they had their own record store here in Novi Sad, but they didn't live long.
The smuggling was happening because the borders were really strict and the customs were really high. So in order to bring over records that will get additionally, you know, you need to pay the tax and stuff like that. No one would actually buy the records because the average paycheck here is really, really low. So I think this was the reason why it was smuggled.
Serbia was under the international sanctions, so there was no trade between, so people need to find their way how to get quality music. There was no internet then, so but there were some quality music shows on that time, and the first raves in Serbia was in the early 90s, and electronic music was from the beginning very present in Serbia.
When I was growing up, it was a state of like huge shit, to be honest, everywhere around. But somehow it was an opportunity for people to use parties and going to electronic music events as an outlet from their grim reality. So actually, when I was growing up and when I was a teenager, it was really, really important to go out to parties, to go out and rave. It was not something you would choose, it was more like an obligation that you have to go and rave. That's what people did.
mind that Novi Sad is a city of about 300,000 people. Basically, people say to us that exit is what makes difference for Novi Sad to be between smaller and bigger city.
There's a thing between Belgrade and Novi Sad. Belgrade obviously being the capital of the country, and like it's much bigger. We have I don't know why there is that thing. It's a huge rivalry between the cities.
Exit was the first good news that came out of Serbia after the 90s. That's why it is so important, and that's why it is so big. Because after 10 years of really bad news about Serbia, Exit was the first breaking news about something good, like something nice happening, like a gathering of young people, a celebration of music.
So I actually think that a part of why second half of the 90s and early 2000s we had like really rocking parties here. It was so like high energy and so much enthusiasm and so much you know, good vibes and the can-do kind of mentality and attitude involved, that I think that was just actually how it went.